Aloha and good day. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz from eTurboNews, and this is a breaking news update. For more news updates and shows, please go to youtube.com/travel news group. youtube.com/travel news group. Here's our update.
Hawaii hotels pulling in more money than last 2 years. The peak summer season ended with August revenue and room rates remaining strong for Hawaii's hotel industry statewide compared to August 2019, said John DeFries, HTA president and CEO. However, the rise in COVID-19 cases and subsequent hospitalizations caused by the Delta variant reminds us that we're still in a fluid situation as we approach the seasonally slower fall period for travel. Statewide hotel revenue was higher per available room, RevPAR, average daily rate, ADR, and occupancy in August 2021 compared to August 2020. This is not surprising since 2020 the state had quarantined travelers causing dramatic declines across tourism. But revenue was even higher this year than in 2019 before COVID-19 was even a factor. Hawaii hotels statewide reported substantially higher revenue per available room, RevPAR, average daily rate, ADR, and occupancy in August 2021 compared to August 2020 when the state's quarantine order for travelers due to the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in dramatic declines for the hotel industry. When compared to August 2019, statewide RevPAR and ADR were also higher in August 2021 but occupancy was lower. According to the Hawaii Hotel Performance Report published by the Hawaii Tourism Authority, HTA, statewide RevPAR in August 2021 was $261, plus 639.3%, with ADR at $355, plus 124.2%, and occupancy of 73.4%, plus 51.2 percentage points, compared to August 2020. Compared with August 2019, RevPAR was 6.9% higher, driven by increased ADR, plus 22.5%, which offset lower occupancy, minus 10.7 percentage points. The report's findings utilize data compiled by STR, Inc., which conducts the largest and most comprehensive survey of hotel properties in the Hawaiian Islands. For August, the survey included 142 properties representing 45,886 rooms, or 85.0% of all lodging properties and 85.6% of operating lodging properties with 20 rooms or more in the Hawaiian Islands, including those offering full service, limited service, and condominium hotels. Vacation rental and timeshare properties were not included in this survey. In August 2021, passengers arriving from out of state could bypass the state's mandatory 10-day self-quarantine if they were fully vaccinated in the United States or with a valid negative COVID-19 NAAT test result from a trusted testing partner prior to their departure through the Safe Travels program. On August 23, 2021, Hawaii Governor David Ige urged travelers to curtail non-essential travel until the end of October 2021 due to the Delta variant resulting in the state's healthcare system being overburdened. Hawaii hotel room revenues statewide rose to $433.4 million, plus 1,270.6% versus 2020, plus 6.1% versus 2019, in August. Room demand was 1.2 million room nights, plus 511.4% versus 2020, minus 13.4% versus 2019, and room supply was 1.7 million room nights, plus 85.4% versus 2020, minus 0.8% versus 2019. Many properties closed or reduced operations starting in April 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to these supply reductions, comparative data for certain markets and prices classes were not available for 2020, and comparisons to 2019 have been added. Luxury class properties earned RevPAR of $533, plus 3,901.2% versus 2020, plus 13.3% versus 2019, with ADR at $823, plus 105.1% versus 2020, plus 42.6% versus 2019, and occupancy of 64.7%, plus 61.4 percentage points versus 2020, minus 16.8 percentage points versus 2019. Mid-scale and economy class properties earned RevPAR of $206, plus 399.9% versus 2020, plus 45.2% versus 2019, with ADR at $288, plus 121.4% versus 2020, plus 68.2% versus 2019, and occupancy of 71.6%, plus 39.9 percentage points versus 2020, minus 11.3 percentage points versus 2019. Maui County hotels led the counties in August and achieved RevPAR that surpassed August 2019. RevPAR was $439, plus 2,258.2% versus 2020, plus 43.6% versus 2019, with ADR at $596, plus 195.6% versus 2020, plus 52.0% versus 2019, and occupancy of 73.6%, plus 64.4 percentage points versus 2020, minus 4.3 percentage points versus 2019. Maui's luxury resort region of Wailea had RevPAR of $642, plus 12.8% versus 2019 squared, with ADR at $913, plus 45.9% versus 2019 squared, and occupancy of 70.3%, minus 20.6 percentage points versus 2019 squared. The Lahaina, Ka'anapali, Kapalua region had RevPAR of $375, plus 6,606.4% versus 2020, plus 50.8% versus 2019, ADR at $491, plus 141.1% versus 2020, plus 50.7% versus 2019, and occupancy of 76.3%, plus 73.6 percentage points versus 2020, plus 0.1 percentage points versus 2019. Hotels on the island of Hawaii reported strong RevPAR growth at $282, plus 732.2% versus 2020, plus 24.3% versus 2019, with ADR at $385, plus 198.5% versus 2020, plus 37.3% versus 2019, and occupancy of 73.2%, plus 47.0 percentage points versus 2020, minus 7.7 percentage points versus 2019. Kohala Coast hotels earned RevPAR of $444, plus 29.8% versus 2019 squared, with ADR at $605, plus 49.0% versus 2019 squared, and occupancy of 73.5%, minus 10.9 percentage points versus 2019 squared. Kauai hotels earned RevPAR of $274, plus 886.6% versus 2020, plus 31.0% versus 2019, with ADR at $357, plus 116.3% versus 2020, plus 25.8% versus 2019, and occupancy of 76.7%, plus 59.9 percentage points versus 2020, plus 3.0 percentage points versus 2019. Oahu hotels reported RevPAR of $179, plus 305.7% versus 2020, minus 21.4% versus 2019, in August, ADR at $245, plus 55.3% versus 2020, minus 4.1% versus 2019, and occupancy of 73.0%, plus 45.0 percentage points versus 2020, minus 16.0 percentage points versus 2019. Waikiki hotels earned $168, plus 349.7% versus 2020, minus 24.4% versus 2019, in RevPAR with ADR at $229, plus 49.9% versus 2020, minus 8.2% versus 2019, and occupancy of 73.5%, plus 49.0 percentage points versus 2020, minus 15.7 percentage points versus 2019. Tables of hotel performance statistics, including data presented in the report, are available for viewing online here.
Thank you for listening to our news update. There's more on youtube.com/travel news group, or you can read us, of course, in going to our news portal at eTurboNews.com or travelnews.online.